Representative Winchell was talking about responsible parents, talking about arbitrary infringement. I have to differ. If you have a child without a gun safety course not being required, a parent, or not even a parent, but someone who has permission from the parent who's 21 years old, I don't know how we establish that they're responsible if they're having children under the age of 12 without training, hunting with them in the woods with revolvers. I mean, just settle down and think about that for a minute. Under the age of 12, 11-year-old, 10-year-old, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Where does it end and how is it responsible parenting? Secondly, it is so common sense, I don't know how you would call it an arbitrary infringement. It's just what responsible parents and responsible legislators do. You set criteria sometimes. I'm afraid if this bill passes with this, that you're going to have more injuries, serious injuries and deaths resulting from, it wouldn't be careless because they're children, but not the careless use of a firearm or a revolver by a child, but by this, quote, responsible parent who's put them in this dangerous situation. I ask the body to accept this amendment. Thank you.
Parents were making that decision.
Representative Winchell, what difference does the ratio of 1-to-1 mean when that child is actually firing a weapon or carrying a weapon in the woods with unknown obstacles and holes and crevices and branches and...
That was the purpose of the amendment that we just adopted. They're not going to be carrying it through the woods in that fashion.
So once you've reached a certain point in the woods, they'll all be there with their handguns and pistols as long as it's 1-on-1 ratio. And this could be any group of kids. Is that accurate? It could be any group of kids. It doesn't matter.
I would not say that this would be any group of kids. Again, the intent behind all of this, with what we did 2 years ago and what we're trying to do here, is allow parents to be able to make those decisions. The hypothetical that you're throwing out and asking me to answer a yes or no question to is unrealistic at best, Representative.
Okay. There's going to be scenarios, there's going to be injuries, and there's going to be deaths. So I want this body to think before voting on this, and I ask them to vote no, all of you. I think this is dangerous. This is a bill that has not been vetted, a bill that's changed since the committee. As a matter of fact, I was quite surprised to see that the bill come up from another committee after being passed with an amendment in natural resources. And the reasoning here is that there were some problems with that amendment. And so it went not back to that committee, but it went to another committee, Public Safety. I'm questioning why that happened. If we're going to act responsibly, like we are insisting that all parents are, we'll vote no on this bill. I don't have that same degree of trust to all the parents in Iowa. Read the paper. All parents that are 21 years of age are not responsible. So you're putting guns in the hands of children with parents that will certainly be irresponsible in this regard. I guarantee it. You know it as well. It's an unsafe bill. It's going to put children in jeopardy in the state of Iowa, whether or not their parents do it or not. I'm not going to be responsible for that. I'm a huge no, and I hope all of you will join me with a no vote.
The gentleman from Lynn, Representative Staed, for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the House. You wanted to hear from somebody who's taught kids. I just finished maybe 40 years of teaching youngsters, And I can tell you a lot about youngsters. And so there's an old saying that I remember, too. It's called, excuse me just a second, I can't recall it. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, was the saying. So if all parents were responsible, and if all parents knew all the gun safety measures and how to handle all of these weapons with their children, that would be one of those ifs, or but if only they were. Everyone here in your logical thinking, you know that's not the case. It's absolutely not the case. And children of these young ages don't have the emotional development or the intellectual development, in many cases, to make decisions. Sometimes they can't control their behavior. Sometimes they can't control their emotions. Can't control the excitement. Sometimes they defy parents. Some kids, you look the other way for a second, and they're doing just the opposite of what you've asked them to do. You're not only asking parents to be responsible here, you're saying that all of these youngsters are capable of and will be safe because they'll follow all those directions, and they will have developed all of this. I challenge every bit of that nonsense. You're putting handguns in the hands of young children without gun safety courses, without the developments that are needed to even understand what the heck they're doing. Just because you know it and you did it with your own kids. Well, I got to tell you, that isn't the way it works. And that's why we have DHS. All these kids are not going to be with perfect parents and perfect guardians that know just what to do. You're going to have injuries and death. And none of it's necessary. This isn't a necessary bill. I think there are people here that would really like to do this that are in this chamber, but I believe that's a minority. Most of us aren't going to go out and take our kids out or train them how to shoot with a revolver during the deer hunting season. So why the hurry and rush to push such what I believe is a dangerous bill? I ask each of you in this body to consider the consequences of even a single child. And vote no on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the House. The best way I can put it, and I mean this with the utmost respect, Representative Staed, folks, that's the difference here. That's what we're seeing put before us in these arguments here today. I'll get to I believe that parents know best. I trust Iowans. I trust them to make the responsible decisions when it comes to teaching their children these things, when it comes to raising their children. Some of the arguments I just heard are to the contrary. Some people think that government knows best. I don't believe that to be true. Iowans know best. Iowans deserve to have this freedom to make the decision for themselves. If they choose to not teach their children these things, they don't have to. But for those Iowans that want to carry on the outdoorsman tradition, the sportsman's traditions, they should be afforded that opportunity without having, yes, what I would qualify as an arbitrary restriction on their parental rights. The bill before us gives Iowans that choice. No parent who is over the age of 21 that is taking their child out has not first obtained a hunter safety course. The only parent that might would have had to have been born before January 1st, 1972. If they're having children at that age, may God be with them. Yes, I can make jokes from time to time.